Wilson, and I will be chairing this meeting. I'm also the chair of the council. Before we start, there are some housekeeping points to note. We're not expecting a fire drill, so if the fire alarm sounds, please leave as quickly as possible. And the fire exits are located to the front and rear of this room. There are also toilets available behind us. Please could you turn off your mobile phones or put them to silent. We want everybody to be able to hear, so please respect whoever is speaking by not chatting amongst yourselves. Also, you should be aware that the meeting is being recorded and is being streamed via our social media channels. I will now ask the members of the council to introduce themselves, starting with Keith.
Keith Eagley, councillor.
Abel O'Rourke, councillor.
Samantha Brown, councillor.
Just go to Terry.
Terry Stevens, Manor South, councillor.
Marie Wine, my Lakes Estate, councillor.
Richard Graham, councillor and vice chairman of the council.
Delia Shepherd, clerk to the council.
Andrew Palmer, Eton North, Wall, Bletchley, Fenny, Stratford, councillor.
Ismail Hussain, councillor Newton Lees.
Ron Hain, councillor.
Paul Joseph Lee, councillor, Newton Lees ward.
Davina Pancioli, community events. Alison Brown, finance manager.
John Fairclough, deputy clerk.
Thank you very much. So I'd also like to welcome this evening Athelia Fernandez and also Jay Joshi, who are here to be considered for co-option to the council as councillors, and we will have a chance to have a conversation later in the agenda. No private items. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to the agenda. So could we please have councillors' apologies for absence?
I just have apologies for absence from Councillor Bedford and Councillor Segbrecht, and Councillor Cunham is in attendance remotely, but she has also sent apologies because she won't be in a position to vote.
Thank you very much. To next item on the agenda, item 2, is note councillors' declarations of interest in matters on the agenda. Do any councillors have any declarations that they wish to make? No? Okay, I would like to declare that it's not a pecuniary declaration, but Jay, who is standing for co-option, is his practice. My son attends as his dentist, but as I do not pay, it's paid for by the NHS, I do not believe that I have a pecuniary issue. But I just want people to note that. Okay, next item on the agenda is item 3, to approve the draft minutes of the extraordinary meeting of council held last week, 21st of November. And also we will come on to confirm the response to the public consultation. So if everyone is happy, we will agree the minutes of the last meeting. I don't intend to go through them. Has anyone got any comments? No. All those in favour of adopting those minutes? Thank you. I think that's everyone. Okay. Did you want to speak to the draft wording, which should be in everybody's pack?
Yes, it should be in everybody's pack. As you recollect at the meeting last week, we agreed to ask for an extension to submit the council's comments on the development brief, and I sent out a draft response for everybody for comment at the end of last week. Haven't received any feedback on that, but I did also send it to our planning consultant who's working with us on the neighbourhood plan, and he has sent some comments in, which I have incorporated into the draft response. So in your pack, you should have version 2 of the response that is a collated response of the discussions as I understood the last week's meeting, but incorporating the feedback from the consultant who's been working with us on the plan. I think he suggested that we should be more assertive in drawing out the differences between the original SPD and the brief, and he made the point that the brief should be a brief and not a wish list, and therefore perhaps the language should be a little bit more assertive.
Any comments from anyone on the council? Sorry.
I thought it was a really good wording. They really captured all the actions that were in the discussion. That was really good.
Any other comments? Personally, so I think it is also a very good document. I would like us to be more assertive with regards to section 106 and insist that section 106 payments actually come to projects within Bletchley and Fenny Stratford before being considered for any projects outside of Bletchley and Fenny Stratford. So, i.e., as I always say, I think it's great that we want to fund a new university in central Milton Keynes, but this community is having a development. It's money that needs that money, and aside from the money that came from a town deal, there is no other money that's coming into Bletchley and Fenny Stratford other than through development. So I think it's really important that that money makes a difference here. So I would make that proposal that we adopt it with that addition. If everyone's happy with that, seconder. All those in favour of the motion, anybody against, any abstention? I think that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay.
There was no abstention in there.
Oh, there was no abstention?
So I didn't actually hear what the amendment was that you.
Okay, sorry. There was one abstention. I didn't see that, so. Okay, next item on the agenda is item 4, public speaking. I'm guessing that no one is here for public speaking, and the 2 options will be dealt with under that item on the agenda.
No, they've got an item in their own.
Yeah.
But there's no public speaking requests or representations sent in.
Wonderful. Okay, so now to note current casual vacancies on the council and to consider co-option of the candidates.
If I could just speak, could I speak to that briefly? So members will recall that we have a number of vacancies at the most recent of which is Granby Ward. I heard from Electoral Services at Milton Keynes Council on the 22nd of this month that the community has not requested a poll for that. So we're free to co-opt to Granby Ward as well as Central Bletchley and South Fenny Stratford and Queensway and Denver North. So that's where we stand at the moment.
Wonderful. So we've had 2 applications. We'll go to them in the order that they are on the agenda. So Athelia, would you like to spend a couple of minutes just telling the councillors why you're interested in becoming a councillor, and following that, there may be a few questions from some of the councillors.
Sure. Yes, good evening, everybody. I'm Ottilie Fernandez. Just got my name right. Well, for me, I'm a people's person, and I'd like to do something for the community. I've not been long in the UK. I'm here since 2019. I've seen a lot of things. I'm coming from the Middle East. There is quite a bit that we could do to help the community. And I've already discussed a little bit with Ms. Shepherd over here in our first meeting, but yeah, the reason why I want to do it is because I feel that there is a lot that we could do to help the community. That's the main reason why I felt, let me just go and try to see what I can do. And if I get elected or I get chosen, I would want to make a difference.
Lovely. Do we have any questions from members of the council? Okay. Sorry.
Just one really. From the 3 years you've been in Bletchley, what have you seen and experienced, and what would you improve?
In Fenny Stratford, because that's where I stay. Yeah. Okay, I'm working also in Bletchley. I'm working at Sensient, and basically for me, the lighting, the safety is a concern. Okay, I have a daughter who's 19. I have a son who's 10. My daughter used to go walking around and things like that. Not that she's not or anything went wrong, but I would be more concerned of her safety to be home early. She used to go down to Central Milton Keynes as well, and coming home, even in the bus, I wasn't feeling very safe. And for which reason I felt that there is something that we can do, even if it's a bus, even if it's the lighting, even if it's the pathways. There is things we can do to help improve. So that was a thought in my mind. And so I said, no, I think I I just want to give it a voice, see where it goes.
Being a town councillor does take up a lot of time and dedication. Do you think you can incorporate being a town, because sometimes it feels like it's a full-time job. Sometimes it feels like it's a full-time job with all the minutes and meetings and everything else of an evening time. Are you prepared to sort of like give up some time to become a councillor and add value to what is a growing council right now? And in our area right now, the area of Bletchley and Fenny Stratford is growing. There's a lot of demands on time. Have you got the time to do this?
I did give that a serious thought, okay, and I know it is time and effort. Being a mother and having a home and a family and working full time, I don't work from home, so I'm doing in a job which is on site. So yes, I did give that a thought, and I said no. I think I can do it.
Any other councillors?
Yeah.
I was just curious in terms of if you had an interest in any of the various committees and sort of which committee you'd be sort of interested in joining, if any, in that sense.
At the moment, actually, we did have a discussion over it, and I did mention to Ms. Shepherd that I would like to place myself in every committee just to see what is like, and then take a decision on which one I would prefer to be comfortable in and to join. But yeah, we did have a discussion of this. Sorry.
Last question, I promise.
Sure.
So I chaired the neighbourhood plan for Bletchley. Yes, so obviously the neighbourhood plan is bringing out or working on policies that will sort of shape the way that Bletchley and Fenny Stratford, the way that it will look in the sort of foreseeable future. Are you sort of aware of the neighbourhood plan, or how it's been sort of how it's been going ahead, the timelines, and I mean, is that something of interest to yourself as well?
Well, I'm not aware of what is the 5-year plan or what's in the pipeline for the area, but of course I know the boundaries of where's Fenny Stratford, Bletchley, but no, I'm not aware of what's in the pipeline and what is the plan for the area.
We didn't really get a chance to talk about that when you came in for a discussion, because there's quite a lot to cover.
Sure. I'll be talking a little bit about the neighbourhood plan later anyway, so we'll get a little bit of an update.
I think Ish was saying there's perhaps some alignment between some of the things you mentioned in your speech and his committee, and so you might want to go on his committee. Okay, if there are no further comments or questions from councillors, then I will send this to the vote. So I will propose that we co-opt Ophelia as councillor. And do I have a seconder? Yeah. So that's seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? I think that is unanimous. So Ophelia, we actually have a acceptance of office form for you to sign, and if you sign it now, then you can actually take part in this evening's meeting as a council.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just have a little pause before we dismiss. Yeah. Thank you. And so the next item 5.2 on your in your pack tonight, that is co-option Jay Joshi to Queensway and Denby North. Jay, did you want to tell us the reasons why?
Yeah, it's okay if I stand up. So my name is Jay, for everyone that doesn't know me. I'm a dentist based in Queensway. I've been there for the past 8 years, and just been treating the population of Queensway. And as you know, as a dentist job, you just get to interact with so many different types of people. And we always have a chat, and I really want to be councillor because I want to make a difference. Because one of the things that some of the older patients always say is Queensway, yeah, it has so much potential, but you know, they always put money into it, but then they're a bit downbeat about the high street and the way it's changed, and they really wanna, and you can sense that they say it with so much passion, and there is a lot of enthusiasm, but I think they just feel that there's a never-ending cycle. So when I saw this, I really want to make a difference. And coming from a healthcare background, I know there's a lot of healthcare inequalities, especially in Bletchley, and I would welcome any input that I can have, and just to make a difference and improve the quality of life for the population of Bletchley and Fenny Stratford.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, does any councillor have any questions for Jay? Oh, sorry, John.
Do you live in Bletchley yourself?
I live in Tatano.
Tatano.
Yeah.
So how do you were talking about the older people. Yeah, obviously, we've got a younger generation as well. If you see a group of younger people, would you be okay to talk to them in the middle of?
Oh, 100%. I'm a trainer for younger dentists, so we've got a wide generations like Z, X in the practice. So I'm quite comfortable with talking to people from all age groups, and I treat a variety of people anyway at the practice. So yeah.
And you would be about evening time sometimes when, if you're working late at the dentist, you would be in a Queensway from time to time?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Marie.
Random question. Was you the dentist that went into Waterhall School recently?
I wasn't. It might have been one of my team, I'm not sure.
Would that be something that you're willing to do within this borough of any town?
100%. Yeah. I was governor at Knowles Primary School for a year, but I think the communication was very varied, so they wouldn't send out the meetings. They wouldn't give enough notice, if that kind of made sense. I know it was during a time of COVID, so I appreciate that loads going on, but it's always something I really want to do. And I know the teams really want to go in and give, help the kids and just give oral health education.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from Councillor Tish?
Same question about committees. What sort of committees question?
I don't know. Just anyone that you feel, I'll just take everyone's advice and where I can make have the biggest input and give the biggest value. But yeah, I have read the neighbourhood plan because I think we're just aware of it. Is that to do with the old police station and the redevelopment of the area, and is that part of it? I know it's a big document and it goes through quite a lot of things.
That's more part of the town deal.
Oh, okay.
It's confusing because there's so many different plans that are.
There are, yeah. But some of the plans look great, but I just don't know what the timeline is. But it looks really, really nice.
We haven't produced an open plan yet, have we? We're still at
And is that the redevelopment of Lakes Estate as well?
Lakes Estate,
that's
So that's another one. Oh, so I've seen so many documents.
So the neighbourhood plan is a way of stating in planning terms what development we feel is acceptable for the local community in Bletchley and Fenny Stratford. So it has to be given credence when considering planning applications, and currently there is no neighbourhood plan, so it means that any developer can just come along and go, I want to do this, and it's not been debated. Have I said that right?
Yeah, there are obviously there are planning documents that apply to all the sites in Bletchley, but as a community, apart from the community in the Lakes Estate who have got neighbourhood plan, the rest of the patch, we haven't produced a neighbourhood plan led by the community, which says what the community wants. And that's what we're trying to do at the moment. That's the work we're engaged in, led by Ishmael.
You must have had a lot of challenges at Knowles School as a governor. What things do you think you could either bring to the parish or generically from that you picked from there?
I think one thing that I liked about the whole being a governor there was the sense of everyone had that goal, so everyone was quite aligned, rather than I've been on committees before where sometimes there's quite a few different voices. Well, I felt like at Old Primary School, I think it might have been COVID as well, everyone was pulling in the same direction. And I think mainly the obstacles were they couldn't get the message out to families that needed, like, for example, Chromebooks or the extra help, and that's what everyone was pulling together. Even the parents were like, actually, you know, we could do this, or how do we reach those kids? So being a councillor, it would be useful if everyone's on the same page, basically.
Yeah, thank you.
So my question, same sort of question about time and dedication and, you know, developing up, because being a dentist, I'm sure you have some late night practices and stuff like that.
So in terms of time, I think I can balance my time quite well, because I'm only 2.5 days clinical now, and the other time I'm quite flexible, admin and whatnot. So
we have more evening meetings and some daytime meetings.
Yeah, it actually works quite well, because I finish work at 6 on a Tuesday. I think they're on a Tuesday, right? Yeah. So I finish work at 6 on a Tuesday, so they work quite well with the diary.
And just being able to help out with some events and things like that. You know, there's a cascade of things that we do. So there's always demand on councillor time.
Yeah.
So that's what it's really.
Yeah. As long as it's in advance, I can plan. Yeah.
Well, the team are very good.
Yeah, that's it.
The team are very good, and you know, I think the start of every council year, we all get invites through Outlook to all of the meetings.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Going, accept. So it's the whole year plan for you.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. Any final questions or comments? No? Thank you. Okay, then I will propose that we adopt, that we co-opt, not adopt, for Queensway and Denby North. Seconded by Richard. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay, I think that is unanimous. And Jay, also, if you sign this document, then you can partake in the meeting tonight at the council levy.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you. So welcome to the council. Thank you. Now on to item 6 of the agenda, to review and comment on planning applications due to be completed by Milton Keynes Council. And I believe Ed.
On 6.1.6.2, the applicant is Milton Keynes City Council, effectively, it's their land and it is their bedway. So I will excuse myself as an interest.
Okay, thank you. So first item 6.1, Blue Lagoon Local Nature Reserve, improved Redway connectivity with associated works to section 2 of the Redway, pages 19 to 32. Does anybody have any comments or questions about this?
Could I just make an observation? You've looked at these plans many times, although you've not actually seen the planning documents, but you have looked at the plans before and supported the plans. So unless there's a technical reason to do with the planning why you wouldn't be supportive of these, I would have thought the council would be considering no objections.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? So I propose that we will deal with 6.1 and 6.2 on block, and that we make a comment to support the increased connectivity throughout the parish and connecting with the Blue Lagoon. So you second that. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? No. So I think that is unanimous. Okay. Next. 6.3. This is 21-00725, land off Albert Street and south of Prince's Way, Burger King site, demolition of existing structure and erection of a mixed-use development comprised of 120 homes with flexible commercial units and other associated works. Now, I believe that what this actually is the planning permission already exists for the building. It's actually about demolition, or is it both?
No, it's both, because there've been some changes made to the, it's a revised proposal. So there have been 2 planning applications. This is the second planning application, but it's the same application that we commented on back in November 2019, but with changes. So the first application we objected to on the grounds that the building didn't meet the adopted parking standards because it only had 52 spaces, and that we were concerned about viability and the lack of affordable housing. So the Town Council objected to it. Since then, quite a lot of work's been done. There's been a new application, quite a lot of work's been done, which you can see in the documents. So it now has 141 spaces, parking spaces, instead of 52, plus 160 cycle spaces. So the ratio on parking is 1 to 1.2 spaces per unit. But if you've had a chance to read the objections from the housing team at Milton Keynes City Council, there are no affordable housing units whatsoever, and there's a very strong objection from the housing team suggesting that this is unacceptable and doesn't comply with the housing policy. But you see the viability arguments in the papers, which is very difficult to unpick, I think.
Ed.
So I have a few issues with this one, in the fact that it was an initial planning application that, it was never decided by the City Council.
That's right.
So they've now made a whole load more changes to it, which seems like they're not finished on it. It seems like it's a new application, but it's really quite hard to work out what's changed since that previous application.
I think it is quite difficult. I think for me, the best document that spelled it out was the the addendum to the design and access statement, which showed you the comments that had come from the local planning authority and what the developers had done to try and meet concerns of the planning authority. Partly it was about massing and height, so they've reduced the development by 4 stories. There was also an issue of overlooking that they've done quite a lot of work on and reviewed the internal layout of the housing units. But I have to say I agree with Councillor Hume. We only got notification of this planning application probably just over a week ago, and there was such a volume of documents, and the viability report and the addendum to the viability report I think are really challenging to understand if you're not an expert.
Okay.
I mean, having just having looked at the house and comments, I support what the house comments are. We can't have developments coming forward with 0 affordable homes. We know there's some massive need. Housing prices and the consequences of that in Bletchley and across Milton Keynes and across what further afield is that affordability of homes is a major issue. I spent quite a bit of time looking at it over the last 18 months as part of some of the work I've been doing on Milton Keynes City Council. Quite frankly, I think we should be facing this just on that grounds alone. I'd be supportive of the comments on the Housing Department of Milton Keynes City Council. Whether there's other things that we should be looking to oppose it on.
Sure. Any other comments? Sure. Ron.
Yeah, and also it's a different company to Winfix that are doing one in, so we don't want a mismatch of different looking buildings in the area anyway. I know the town deal's coming up with something like that, but we don't want them to start on board.
That's not a planning reason.
No, but I mean, we can say it's got to match the area it's in.
That's the purpose of the plan.
Yeah.
And I recall, I think we actually met with the architect of this site at the library.
We did.
And I think that they were very impressed with how their design fits in with the two other blocks.
I was going to say about infrastructure and S106 money, and trying to find out whether there is any provisions made with this application for any S106 money regarding infrastructure.
That's the worry. I think that's the big worry, the fact that there's no social housing.
Mm.
What does that mean, that they're saying that the viability of the development is such that not only are they not providing any housing, they're not, we don't know what's going to be in the Section 106, if any. So that's one of the concerns, I think.
Yes.
Because we just don't have enough information. We don't have enough information. In terms of the design has changed, but it's not changed radically in terms of the look. And on the last occasion, you commented that the architectural design of the development was good and the proposed building of attractive appearance. Had there been more information about affordable housing and other planning gains, the town council may have been better placed to comment, but you objected. So you quite liked the design last time.
Any other comments from members?
Just so, there's already tower blocks that are Winvic. Is that a different developer?
So Winvic is just the builder.
Okay.
The developer is called Godwin Development.
Okay.
They have got the site either side of the Burger King, which I think was called Bletchley View, but it's now called Beacon View.
Beacon View.
And so it's their site. I do recall at one point.
It still belongs to, it doesn't belong to Godwin, it still belongs to the Burger King.
So at one point, Godwin wanted to acquire the Burger King site. Okay. On this application, the owner of the Burger King site is actually the applicant for the planning permission himself. So what he's wanting to do is develop the building himself.
Because the Godwin building is social housing, right? Or affordable housing? No, private.
I think part of it is.
Part of it, okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I think that I remember saying at the meeting, so I was actually quite like the design the last time, and I thought it was quite in keeping with the two buildings. But what I'm worried about is actually we are swapping. I don't know if anyone frequents this restaurant or has been past, but it's always empty. And I'm worried that kind of it's actually an unsustainable restaurant that's being swapped for unsustainable housing for the people, not sustainable for the community. And some of the comments that we had when what was the dates that we put these in? We spoke about this in November 2019, so nearly 4 years ago. And we've made points about Section 106, affordable housing, and what the community kind of benefits from. I don't feel that there's any change really, other than we've now managed to get 141 spaces where we previously had 52. So they can go away and engineer 90 spaces, but they haven't been able to provide any further affordable housing for the local community. And I think we have to look at our sites or look at the available sites within Bletchley and Fenny Stratford. There is this site, potentially the Brunel Centre site, where I think we've got to be more selective about what we will support or whatever. Anybody have any proposals?
Chair, I think that the proposal or the comments we made last time, with the exception of parking, which has been met, should stand. I don't see any reason to change any of our previous comments, both on social housing and the other one, if you'll remind me.
Section 106. No planning gain.
Section 106, that's the one. Thank you. They should remain the same.
Okay.
That would be a proposal, Chair. I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour of the proposal? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay, so that's carried unanimously. Okay, next item. So I think we'll take these together. 6.4 and 6.5, which is pages 57 to 74 in your pack. This is for Queensway House, 207 to 209 Queensway. Can somebody tell me, is this the old job centre building?
No. HSBC.
It's HSBC. Okay.
Is it next to it?
That's what it says here.
Okay.
There was Scripture Union Building.
Oh, yes, that is HSBC.
That's it.
Yeah. So prior approval for change of use of the existing ground floor commercial unit to 3 times 1 bedroom residential units, and also prior approval for change of use of part of the first floor from Class E commercial to Class C3 residential.
So this is a prior approval. So Bletchley feel very, very strongly about it. There's not a lot we can do about it in any event. It's just a change of use, which will be permitted under the noting or anything.
Okay, so everybody just happy to note that, or anyone wants to make any comments or questions? No, so happy to note. All those in favour of noting? All those, anyone who wants to abstain? Anyone against? Okay, that is unanimous. Okay, we'll go on to item 7 now, to note a summary financial report showing income and expenditure against budget, pages 75 to 76. Keith, is there anything you want to tell us about the budget?
No, not at this stage.
About the report?
No, Chair.
Something you want to say, Alice? Okay. Anyone got any questions about the budget report? Income and expenditure report? No, so I'll take it that we are all happy with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, all those happy, everyone happy with that? Okay, thank you. Next item, pages 77 to 80, to ratify a list of payments made or due to be made by the council before the next meeting of the Finance and Governance Committee. Anybody got any question on the list of payments? No? Everybody happy to note that? Okay. Next item on agenda 9 is to approve the appointment of the internal audit provision for 24-25.
Could I just say that the quotations that you've got are commercially sensitive, so I don't think you need to go into private session, but if you could not reveal the contents of the quotations until you've decided which one you're going to take. If you feel that you can't have the discussion without discussing them, we would need to go into confidential session, I think, because that's only fair to be provided the quotation.
Do you want to talk about this, Chair?
Yes, please.
At the last Finance and Governance meeting, I was tasked with carrying out a procurement exercise for the provision of internal audit services. Internal audit is for our benefit to check that we're working our systems correctly. We've used auditing solutions for many years. I'm not sure when it started to carry out our internal audit. So I went to the sector. There's not really a lot of options out there. Auditing solutions do quite, I would say, the majority of internal audits of our local parish and town councils. IAC Audit and Consultancy, they're obviously too busy at the moment and we're unable to provide a quote. Heelis and Lodge, they provide internal auditing services for, I believe it's only Stratford. So there wasn't a lot of options out in the market, but obviously I have recommended the reappointment of auditing solutions.
I think on this, I think it's sensible that we go with the officer recommendation. So I propose that we go with the officer recommendation.
Is there a seconder? All those in favour of the officer, do you want to speak?
I do want to speak
okay.
about you don't mind.
I just saw a pen at the corner of my.
Well, we've got on the agenda to approve the internal audit provision for next year, but we normally appoint auditors for 3 years rather than 1 year, because it's quite a procurement exercise. So I would ask, I know it's not on the agenda, I know it says for 1 year on the agenda, but I would ask you to consider whether it's appropriate to approve 3 years if that's what we did last time.
I therefore have a question before I make a different proposal. I will withdraw that initial proposal.
Sorry.
And I have a question before I potentially make another one. Costing for the 3 years. Bear in mind we've got costs here based on 1 year. How does that change over the 3 years? And I realise it's really tricky trying to.
Yes, it is, because I know they've kept the cost the same based upon this year, so there potentially might be an increase for the following two years. That's something I could go back to them just to double check.
Or we could agree that we appoint them for 3 years, subject to satisfactory fee proposals each year.
Or
I like that.
No, I was going to suggest taking, except in the first year, the second and third year, prices go to finance and governance for final approval.
Okay. Yes, so just for clarity, we're now agreeing a 3-year contract. The fee for the first year is agreed.
Yeah.
The fees for year 2 and 3 need to come back to Finance Committee.
That's
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Thank you. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Thank you, that is carried unanimously. Next item on the agenda, item 10, is to receive a report on progress of the Bletchley Stratford Neighbourhood Plan. Councillor Hussain.
Yes, thank you very much. So I just wanted to start off by saying, obviously, the neighbourhood plan is the biggest change to the parish area in a generation, so it is quite important that it's done right. Obviously, we've done a lot of work with members of the community. They've been engaged with the Development Task Force and Environment Task Force to go out and physically gather evidence and data, which would be sort of shaping these policies. So in terms of the draft policies, we have got a set of draft policies now, which have been commented on, waiting for some feedback from the planning consultants. But I mean, the policies cover blue and green infrastructure, a lot of the core areas in the parish, so Queensway and Fenny Stratford, number of sites which have been outlined for development as well, green spaces, local heritage assets, areas of special character. So yeah, if you could just have a little read through of the draft policies, and any comments would be really useful, just from the information and knowledge that you guys have, as well as from what the community is saying. We've also been discussing the consultation, because there will be a public consultation looking at back end of January at the moment, and we looked at ideas for the consultation, both in person and online as well. So I mean, in person would be pop-ups in sort of high traffic areas, banners, something physical, people to actually walk up to, and then online as well, so via QR codes, short videos, again, just to reinstate and reaffirm the fact that it is a very important plan for the area, and obviously this will all be going to a referendum as well later on in the year. So as much feedback that we can get, and as long as we can get it as close to what the community actually want, that's the key objective, because it is a community-run plan. The other thing I was just going to mention is the steering group as well. So we need more councillors on steering group. I mean, the steering group, just as much support from the council as possible in that sense. So I mean, we are meeting on the 7th of December at 7 p.m. It's going to be a hybrid, so if you wanted to come in person to Sycamore House, you can. Otherwise, you can feel free to dial in online as well if you guys want to hop in. So yeah, it's the sort of rough, short report update.
Thank you for that update, Ish. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody happy to note that report? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is pages 87 to 88 of your pack, to receive clerk's report on recent meetings of the Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Deal Board. Is there something that you would like to say as well?
There is. Firstly, I'd like to apologise for the late submission of this report, but it's been an incredibly busy month with 2 town council meetings and lots of other things going on as well. If you've not had time to read the report before tonight, if you have any questions, please, me and I will do my best to respond to them. I mean, I can respond to questions tonight if you like, but the thing that I'd really like to draw everyone's attention to is the final or penultimate paragraph, which talks about the public consultations that are going to take place this month on the parking study that is being done in Bletchley and Fenny Stratford. So we've got consultations on the 6th, the 9th, the 11th and the 12th of December. One at Bletchley, well, 2 at Bletchley Library, 1 at Fenny Stratford Community Centre and 1 at the IoT. And I think it's really, given the prominence of parking and all the parking issues that we've been talking about for decades, it's really, really important that we try and get as many residents to attend these consultations as possible. They're being run by Milton Keynes City Council, not by us, but anything we can do to promote them and to encourage residents to attend them, it's got to be valuable.
Any questions or comments from Buck? So everybody happy to note the report? Next item on the agenda, pages 89 to 90, to consider and approve spending on community events for the remainder of 2023-2024. Okay, Davina, is there anything you wanted to say about this report?
Not a huge amount. I think it's just we talked about the events themselves at community committee, and they were kind of agreed to a certain extent. So it's just really about looking at the budget and getting some additional funding for Street Iftar, which would be obviously a brand new event this financial year, and then increasing the Easter budget. £1,000 already been budgeted, and increasing that to 3,000 in total, so that we can deliver a much more inclusive event for the community.
Terry, as chair of the community committee, do you have any comments on anything?
No, you'll notice that removed the New Year's celebration, the lunar one. I think that was always a stretch target one of that one.
Sorry, it's stretch
lunar
target.
one, yeah, it was going to be a stretch to do that one anyway. It's a new event, so the Iftar is a new event, so we're quite interested in other members' thoughts on that one as well. We think it's a really good thing to do, and to be more inclusive of the community. But it's really brought to this one because we need some more funding to push it on.
I might want to speak to the funding.
In terms of funding, it does look as though the council will be having an underspend, probably quite a substantial one at the end of the year. So I think in terms of events can be supported through the budget.
Keith.
Where is the palatial hall?
It's on, so Stania Square, it's the old Onyx. Was it called Onyx?
It's Onyx,
The old nightclub, just above.
The old co-op building?
Yeah.
Right. I'm up to date.
Any other questions or comments?
Why are we hiring a hall when we've got halls of our own?
Because we can't hold that event in any of the halls that we've got. We did talk at the last community committee about doing it in Sycamore Hall, and it's not viable because of the roof and the asbestos and the leaking water in the roof. The only other hall we could have done it in was here, and the view of the committee, I think, was that it was too far away from the community that we want to attract to the event. And the whole value of palatial halls is that it's close to Duncan Street, it's close to Queensway, it's close to the community that we want to see attend the event.
Say we've got 200 guests budgeted for. How did we come to that figure?
That's essentially that's the space that's available within Palatial Hall and managing a reasonable budget, because we're feeding them essentially, so we're providing food via a vendor.
Okay, so could you have gone for a smaller hall or a bigger one? I'm just trying to get the rationale behind this.
Yeah, it's about a Street Iftar is essentially about trying to engage the community as much as possible. And although it's a celebration as part of Ramadan, or it's a process as part of Ramadan, it really is about making it inclusive to all faiths and non-faiths. And so you have to, my view is that, or my recommendation is that we try and make that as impactful as possible. And so having a smaller number does make that quite restrictive given the diversity of the community within the area. And so by having a number like 200, it allows us to not only allow people who celebrate Ramadan to feel welcome and inclusive, but also to allow space for those who aren't part of that faith to come and learn more and join the community, essentially.
Okay. Just a follow-up question. Easter.
Yes.
I'm sure I've done it before.
Yes, we have.
It just says afternoon tea and boxes. Where's it happening, and
Yeah, so the Easter proposal here is still to obviously be agreed by the committee. And we have done Easter before, and typically, from my understanding, Easter has been held on Stanier Square and has been kind of like crafts and Easter hunts, etc. So this year, we're potentially proposing that we provide mini afternoon tea boxes for us all to enjoy on Stanier Square in a covered area, and we maybe get Mr. Bunny to come along and do slightly more than we've done in previous years. Because you've got to think about the timing of it as well. You know, it's during the half term, cost of living, etc. And so if we can support the community to have a nice time together over Easter.
Finally, and lastly to me, really, I get it straight, but we're holding it in a hall. Easter Stanier Square. Why can't we hold the street iftar on Stanier Hall or Square itself?
Well, because if you look at the timings of the event as well, it's going to be in the evening. And so there was a discussion around having the street iftar outside on Stanier Square, and the cost is higher because you've got to put out tents, you've got to put out heating, you've got to put out lighting, etc. If the street iftar, because it's about breaking fast, that happens when the sun goes down, and so you're looking at an event that starts from 5:30 onwards. So the infrastructure implication is much higher than if we do it inside. And from a comfort perspective, you know, everyone's sitting down and eating together. It's a lot more around the kind of being still and eating together than something like Easter would be.
Thank you. Councillor Reading.
Well, I think this is a brilliant move by the Town Council. We've celebrated our Christmas festivities for years, and now we're introducing other festivities for other religions. And I think this is one, hopefully the first expansion of that idea, and hopefully we can expand it into others as well. And I have all, well, your committee, Terry, first class. Thanks very much for doing it. Good idea, whoever did it or came up with it. Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. I put two questions as well. One, does that cost include any staff or officer time? And I know that from the Employment Policy Committee perspective, there are concerns around the amount of officer time that actually needs to be allocated to the execution of events. So that's my first question. And then the second question is there anything that can be done with regards to the venue hire and decoration and security costs? Because it seems to me to be quite a lot. So but you know, I'm just seeing a big number. What I'm not seeing is what's actually happening for the number.
Yeah,
so,
I fully understand. So to answer question one, in regards to iftar specifically, because of the construction of the event, essentially there's not as high an officer time cost actually than something like Big Eid or Christmas, because a lot of it is, some of the cost in the event is to do with staffing and them doing a lot of the decor, etc. And so it's one for one essentially. So instead of us doing it, it's them doing it, security, etc. Things like food service, etc. is all built into the vendor who's doing all of that as well. So that won't be us. So essentially it's kind of maybe a couple of us on site as you would have for a normal kind of event, even though the size of it is much bigger. And then for your second question, it does include things, you have to think about things like plates and table linen, and there's a lot more kind of minute detail when you're sitting down 200 people to feed them. So that's really where a lot of the cost comes from.
Going forward, that's what we've discussed already, that we're going to factor in the officer time in terms of our costs going forward and things for next year.
Wonderful. Is there any other comments? Thank you.
Yeah, just to point out, I have got costings in front of me for staff time, which we can discuss at the discussion on the budget for next year.
Okay, wonderful. Any other comments or questions? So we'll go to the vote. Oh, sorry.
I know it's on the screen.
Oh,
Yeah, I just got
sorry. Aisha, on the screen, I see you've got your hand up.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Sorry, I can't be there today. Just wanted to say that Davina and I have been working in the background regarding the iftar. I just wanted to say we are working with another organisation that will be volunteering, and there's going to be part of that organisation is to bring some people in to help out for that particular event. So I don't think we're going to need as what we're thinking, if that makes sense, with the partnership working. Davina, are you able to talk about the MKISE, what they're offering, what they're going to do, like in terms of bringing people in, getting the college students to come and volunteer and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's essentially MKISE, who we know, have worked with them before. So they are going to be kind of a partnership in this to bring in things like the speakers and a lot of entertainment, etc. And they work obviously with Milton Keynes College as well, within the Bletchley campus as well. And so using a lot of their students to help with decor and service and all of those things. So we're literally looking at very minimal officer time, actually.
Sorry, Marie.
Just going forward, please give as much information as possible when doing the events, because when we get the fuller picture of everything, it really does help more.
Yes.
If we have a full picture instead of just the basic little bits and the prices. Fuller picture makes it so much easier for us to feel a bit more.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Good feedback, thank you.
Okay, any comments, Jay?
The 5,000 for the Lunar New Year.
Yes.
What's that going to be used? Is there something else? Or
We're proposing that we don't do Lunar New Year this year.
Okay. And so that 5,000 is just.
Yeah, we're not requesting that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so I think it's brilliant. I'd like to echo Councillor Ely's questions. I know that for many years we've been asked to support events that may be not taking place in our community. And I think it's great that part of our community will have their own event. I look forward to kind of attending the street iftar next year, if everyone's happy with that. So I think, Keith, did you want to propose that we kind of adopt this? You could.
Yes, Chair, yeah.
Seconded by Richard. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? I believe that is unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item 13, pages 91 to 102 in your pack, to review a progress report on the Town Council delivery plan for 2023 to 2024.
Would like me to speak to that?
Yes, please.
So I've put this on the agenda today rather than it going to finance and governance, because we're thinking about the budget for next year, and we need to be thinking about what items are carried forward from this delivery plan into 24-25, and whether we need to make any adjustments to the budget for them. So we're going to come on and talk about that shortly. So that's why it's come to this full council meeting and not to finance and governance, which is what we've agreed we would normally report to finance and governance. So I'm happy to answer any questions about this. I mean, I think you can see we're pretty much on track with most things. Quite a bit's completed for the year. There are a couple of things that need quite a bit of work on them, but I don't think they are critical, apart from the public toilets in Albert Street, which I think is a very important issue that we have to make some provision for in the budget next year. But I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any comments or questions? No? So my own comments is, I think we've been quite ambitious this year, perhaps overly ambitious in some of the things that we've adopted. I think that we have to give, I'm expecting to see a year more next year of not a huge proportion of new projects, but perhaps the opportunity to consolidate and focus on the big ticket items that we have. One of them is Sycamore Hall, the other is the neighbourhood plan, and like you said, potentially the toilets, which we really need to engage with regards to the town deal.
Remind me when this plan is at the end of this financial year, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got the survey that's just coming back, we've got the results back today. When we do the next one, can we just do a check and balance against the priorities of the residents first?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Have we had says awaiting outcome of funding application due the digital trail project. Has that come back yet?
I haven't had it yet. have we?
No, the 8-week window should have been kind of last week, but I know they had quite a lot of people putting in bids because it was coming to an end. So we should hear any day. But I have chased it up, but haven't had any response. But it's been over 8 weeks now.
I think what we might think about doing, I mean, just as food for thought, if we don't get the grant in, if we don't get the funding, I think we might be considering asking you whether you'd be prepared to put some towards it as a council, but that we don't know yet. Let's hope.
Until we get an answer, yeah, it's hard.
Let's hope.
That would be an option.
Okay, any other comments, Ron?
Yeah, I think we've done well with the projects we've done because it was a big and massive amount that we took on. And I feel we should stick with what we got now rather than take anything big or new on, because we've got, as you say, we've got Sycamore Hall, and that's a big project anyway. So I feel we should stay as we are and keep an eye on what's going on around us, make sure we don't fall behind, but stay as we are with it, what we're doing at the moment, because we took on landscaping and the feedback we're getting is brilliant. You know, so we do take on the project. We do a good job, apparently.
Thank you. So any other comments? No. So everybody happy to note that report? Thank you. We will move on to the next item, which is to consider feedback from the resident survey and to determine the next steps. Documentation, pages 103 to 126 in your pack. I had a read through this earlier. I think it was very interesting around some of the numbers in the report. Is there anything that the office team wants to take us through?
John will speak to this.
Yeah, so it officially closed on Friday, and we haven't gone through all the paper submissions yet. But I have included the report, the online submission, so I don't know if anyone's had a chance to look through. I would like to propose to extend the deadline to the 8th of December so we can get the Christmas event and try and capture a few more submissions then. We've only had just under 200, as you can see in the report. So I would like to get a few more. I think you'd all agree we would. But there's some interesting comments in there, especially Crown and Question 5 around the precepts. If you want to kind of talk about that, we can do. But yeah, I'd like to extend it for another 2 weeks, if that's okay.
So I just have one comment with regards to this. So firstly, I'm okay with the extension. And the comment, Delia will not be surprised because I say this every year. I actually think for us to send out 9,000 magazines and receive 53 printed copies back, I don't think is a good use of our officer time. And actually the issue is it's handwritten and then somebody's got to type it into the survey software. We get it. And I just think for future things, we go completely digital. And if we really want to kind of attract those people who are in the community that don't have the technology, why don't we say that during our events, we'll have a stand and we'll have people with tablets who can actually sit there. You can go up and speak to our council team and we'll do it on the tablet whilst you're at our kind of tent. And that's the way, because I just think it's like we end up with all these numbers. Sorry.
Or you could actually, if someone specifically wants to, you could cram their house or do their tablet and help them if they can't get on. Thanks.
So I think there's plenty of things to say here. Also really interesting, one of the things that I noticed was the number of clicks to the survey versus how many had completed it. Whether that's because it's
not me.
Whether that's because when they clicked on it, it wasn't necessarily what they were expecting or something else, I'm not quite sure. There's also just and I think we're all guilty of it sometimes, council speak. I think some of the comments alluded to didn't understand what precept meant. Fair enough, why would Joe Public understand that?
It was explained on the survey.
Was it as well? Oh.
Yeah. It was.
At the start, I was thinking.
But I mean, I have to disagree with Ethan on this one. Is that actually I realised that 53 and it's a lot to process, but actually for those who they may not want to be speaking to somebody as they complete the survey, they may not want somebody to be entering in a tablet, and part of it also is about we just need to think about all of the residents, and sometimes even though it's a small minority, actually it's really important that we keep some of these channels open so they are able to take part and share their feedback in the way that they feel comfortable to do so.
Yeah.
It's not always possible that some people can get to events. It's not always possible that you could have somebody come to somebody's house to do a survey with them. So I think it's actually a really important option, and I don't know how long it took in terms of time to go through that and how to write, but I do think there is merit in that.
Yeah, I think, you know, looking at last year's, we said it was a lot easier for people. We sent out surveys with prepaid envelopes, and it cost a lot more money, obviously. We got over 600 responses printed last year, back 600. But obviously we paid for it. You know, it wasn't cheap, so we decided to do it in-house this year. We haven't got as many. But the majority of, you know, we had 1,000 last year that we got back. So, you know, over 60% were kind of printed, written submissions. So
that balance has shifted.
With the surveys as well, I don't want us to restrict our residents. I think they should be able to fill in the form and send it in, because not everyone's going to be computer literate either, and going down to the events, they might not want to. It might be too cold for them this time of year. So I still think we should do the survey for maybe a period. I know it's time consuming for you.
It's just getting the submissions back. Yeah, you know, if we put them out in the newsletter, but it was you had to cut it out, I think.
Unless we do the free posts again, like we're doing, because like you said, you got a good response. I think the more response we get, the better.
I mean, it's not saying that you want everyone, because actually, I don't know, I can't remember what in magazine you put QR code to it. It's actually for a lot of people, so you scan the QR code. Actually, it's easier than tearing it off, going down the post office, which is the post box.
But, yeah, QR code was on there as well.
So that option's there, and actually, I suspect you'll know how many people scan the QR code.
Don't want the elderly moaning you're being ageist.
I agree with the proposal, also I agree with the recommendation that we should extend this to the 8th of December.
Maria,
Can I change the date to the 11th, please? Yeah, December.
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you.
Just to come back on some of the points that have been mentioned, I personally do not. With regards to the points made about the paper copies, I just think they're really expensive to process, and actually the council has to balance the cost of that against the cost of people doing it themselves, and it would be great to have all of those options available, but I'm sure there are many councils that don't do paper copies of surveys anymore because they're really expensive to process, and I think that we need to balance that. I would also say I don't think it's an age thing, and I think I was looking at some social media information very recently, and actually it's very surprising if you actually look at the demographics of who actually uses Facebook, because it's actually quite a platform for people that are older rather than people that are younger. So I think that people are using these channels already, and that's my suggestion. Of course, we're going to talk about a survey again next year, and we've got time to all kind of consider what we should really do about that. Okay.
And also with surveys, people go, oh, I ain't going to fill it in, they don't take no notice. You know, it doesn't matter about filling it in because no councils ever take notice. And I think in our newsletter, we should get something out there to say, whenever you do a survey, we always take notice. And that may get a bit bigger response. I had a lot of people, I said everything, no, they don't take no notice. So I got my phone out, I said, go on, do it now. You know, but, you know, I think that's what you need to get out there to get people's mindset in the right direction.
We will publish a summary of the results in the newsletter.
Yeah.
There will be so they will see the results. Whether they'll think we take notice of it or not, I don't know, but they will see that we've collated the information and it's been used to inform some way.
I was really worried about one of the questions, but actually, which was, what do people think about the precept? And actually, I was surprised that the largest proportion of people about the precept said, don't cut services. So you know, which I think I would have had difficulty with people saying cut the precept, because I think it's really, I've heard firsthand from some of the residents about the services that we provide and what a kind of godsend it is to them. So I've not been keen to have to cut anything. Right, next item on the agenda. Do you want to say something? Item 15, pages 127 to 130.
Oh, I think Aisha's got a hand up.
Sorry, Aisha.
Sorry, I don't. If it was from before, I'll put it down.
Oh, it's a legacy hand. Sorry.
Legacy.
Yeah. Okay. So to review the town council's existing strategic priorities and consider a draft delivery plan for 20. Have we done that already?
No,
we haven't.
No, we haven't, because I haven't had time to produce the. So you looked at where we're up to with this year's plan.
Yeah.
I haven't had time to produce the draft delivery plan yet. I'm going to produce it for your January meeting. But I wanted us to review the strategic priorities and make sure that you still feel that these values and priorities are the right priorities for the town council before I write the new draft delivery plan. And we've already talked about the fact that we'll move over anything that's uncompleted from this year if we think it won't be completed this year. We've got those major priorities, so it's these really.
Any comments on the strategic priorities, values, or?
So I think as a council that, we set out our aims and our objectives and our strategic priorities. I think it's having an impact in the community, grass cutting services, all the different other services, council services that we're providing for the community. The community is seeing the benefit of what we're doing as a local council now. So I believe that we should continue on that path.
Any other comments here?
Well, I think we should leave them the same, Chair. We've been saying we want to consolidate next year. Let's do that and consolidate these priorities at the same time.
I do have a slight proposal, and that is with number 4, closer to our community. And I just reflecting on the first bullet point, which I'll read out, of closer to our community, which is we will consult on major decisions affecting our community and affecting our community, and our decision making will reflect what is important to our community. I think that we need to make this statement, I'm not sure how, a little bit more. We want to, this statement as I read it says the community decides about everything, and I think sometimes we have more information than the community has, and actually I don't want to put us to be in a situation where we've got to kind of agree to something, because I think that we are here to make the best decision, and we're elected to make the best decisions with all of the information that we have. And whilst it's really important, so for example, when I was thinking about this, I was actually thinking about the precept. I, not having heard all of that testimony from residents who are saying that they value things like the larder, the counselling, and everything like that. I would have to go against the community opinion, because I feel that like some of the community really need that and are not getting it from elsewhere. So I'm not sure of the exact wording.
I think if you're right, it's not completely compatible with our community engagement strategy, which I think says that we will consult, and the outcome of the consultation will inform our decision making. It doesn't say that we will follow the majority. So I think it could be reworded along those lines.
So I don't know if everybody's happy with that. Ed.
So I think this on there. I think the word will reflect. I mean, that's something. So it's reflect. I guess that means we will reflect on what the community is saying to us, and consider that in terms of our decision. But I think when we do consultations, it's really important to say, like, consultations are there so we can try and, is there someone that we've not spotted? Is there someone that we've not seen? And quite often when you get the different responses, actually, officers probably are first of all going through that and actually looking at them and doing individually and going, okay, let's look at, someone said this is actually what the other evidence is saying, and that will come forward in a response. So I think probably what you've just said, in terms of wording, I don't know if I quite like it, but.
Well, we can do some work on it and I'll send it round. If anybody can come up with something better than me, I'll be delighted.
So I propose that the clerk will come back with that particular term. We'll circulate it by email. We'll give councillors the opportunity to respond, and then a decision will be taken both by myself, the clerk, and the vice chair, if everyone's happy with that.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favour of that? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay, that is carried. Thank you.
And if anybody's got anything they've got burning desire to see in next year's delivery plan that we haven't talked about, can you let me know sooner rather than later, please?
Thank you. So now item 16, Sycamore Buildings Project, pages 131 to 134 in your pack.
Chair, this item is for you to decide whether you feel you need to discuss this in closed session or whether you don't need to. But bearing in mind that there's been procurement based on the costings, I think it's a matter for you to just determine whether you feel it would be better to deal with this in confidential session. It's only when it comes to discussing the actual costs and the impact that would have on procurement, I think.
Do we have to make decisions?
The decision about phasing.
Yes. Oh, it's just a question about phasing, not about cost.
Phasing. Is that, yeah, having reviewed the cost, it's about phasing. That's what we want you to decide tonight. Do you want to phase? I think,
Chair, why don't we move item 17 forward? Then exclude the public to do 16 at the end.
Okay, yes, I will. I think that's
I'll make a
brilliant proposal. Seconded. All those in favour? Okay, so we now will move the item to item 17 on the agenda, which is to review the draft budget. Is there anyone who wants to take us through this very quickly? I would ask you to be cognizant of the time.
Oh, yeah, I will speak, Chair, please.
Thank you.
The first point we need to agree is obviously Finance and Governance approved a scale of charges after further consultation, market research. We decided we wanted to recommend that we didn't increase the higher rates for both Newton Leys Pavilion and Fenny Stratford Community Centre for the regular hirers to keep them the same as this current financial year. But we would only increase the private booking hire charges. So that's the proposal, and also to recommend that we introduce an additional £35 an hour rate for Friday evening bookings. That's the proposal.
So anybody got any questions on that proposal with regard to bookings? No? Okay, so all those in favour of, sorry, is there a second for the proposal? Thank you, Terry. All those in favour of the proposal as described? Anybody against? Any abstentions? That's carried. There are other items on the budget?
Not specifically. Did councillors want me to run through the budget with them? Because obviously there was some discussion last year on engagement from the councillors in terms of preparing the budget. This is your opportunity to review it. Obviously it will be going to Finance and Governance on the 9th of January, which councillors are invited to attend, although they won't necessarily be able to vote.
No, but they'll be able to speak and they'll be able to hear the detail of the budget.
And what might be helpful for new councillors is just to explain the process. So it's going to go to Finance and Governance on the 9th of
January,
and then it will come back to
full council to set the budget, and then following from that we set the precept, which is obviously the part within the council tax.
Okay.
So obviously all committees have had an input into the budget as it stands on your screens. We've had to make certain assumptions. I know the community committee have asked for a lot more events this year. Now that we've had to make assumptions about inflation rate for pay rises next year. We have kept on the whole services the same. Let me just. There's a couple of things we've removed. We've historically had an ongoing budget for a citizens advice service. There's always been a budget of 8K, but in this draft budget, that's been removed. We put in the community infrastructure budget, which was for the solar panels at Newton Lees.
Don't yet know whether that application will be approved, and we probably won't know until after we've set the budget. And
in terms of other community projects, in terms of an additional defibrillator for next year, we managed to secure additional one fully funded this year, so we've not put that in the budget. Climate change, it's just under 50K already in earmark reserve, so we propose not to put any more into that budget. Obviously, wellbeing, the free swimming counselling service continue.
Everyone's, can I speak, Chair? Everyone's looking a bit glassy-eyed.
I know.
It's towards the end of the evening. What I'd like to suggest is that if anybody would like to have a session with Alison and I to go through the budget and to talk through the issues to do with the budget, please just ring up, let us know, and we'll go through it in words of one syllable, or we can make it as complicated as you like. And that way we can, help people to understand it, because I realise it's an awful lot of figures on a page. Unless you're sort of working with the budget day in, day out like we are, it's not very meaningful, but very happy to help anyone who wants to understand it. And what I really hope is that at this January's preset meeting, we don't have councillors feeling that they've not had a proper debate and they've not had a proper discussion and they don't understand why we're making the decisions we're making.
Yeah, I will at this point also add that obviously the only thing that is that's been omitted at the moment is the costing of officers' time for events. Just to show you an example, when we do our 4 days events, the Bletchley Big Street and the Christmas event, effectively that costs us in terms of overtime for staff being there £670 at today's rates, and that doesn't include the on costs such as the employers' NI and the pension contributions. That's just part of it. Obviously there is some members of staff that are not entitled to claim overtime. They have to claim time off in lieu, but effectively by doing that, although you're not paying them, it's affecting the service their work under normal office hours. So there is a cost there, and that equates to about £900. So I'm just saying, so effectively £1,500 for each full day in terms of staff time.
Is that per member of staff?
No, that's
the event.
for the group.
That's for the big events.
So that is for, one can argue it's not going to be that, but perhaps the smaller events, it perhaps might be a third of that. But there is a cost, even if it's not paid in overtime. So it means that staff are then not spending time on other core services.
Oh, thank you. Can I just emphasise that how I encourage all members to attend the Finance Committee. If you want to influence the budget and what we do next year, that is the time to do it. Because if there's no money, then you can't do it. So trying to influence the decisions of the Finance and Governments Committee in January, because that's the decision that then goes to Council. Thank you, Chair.
Marie.
Sorry, what was the thing that you said wasn't in the budget that's been taken out?
We always had a budget of 8K for the Citizens Advice Bureau.
Why was that taken out?
Because it's never been utilised in the nearly 4 years I've been here.
And was there a reason why we weren't doing it?
It went wrong during COVID because they couldn't deliver, and in the end what we did was we bought some equipment for them to do remote advice, but since COVID they've not been delivering a service.
I'm only asking this question because that's come up quite a lot lately. There's no.
The most recent discussions we've had, it's been really difficult to pin them down. To be fair, we haven't talked to them very recently But we really wanted a drop-in service because what wasn't working was the appointment-based service. It just wasn't working for us. They were booking appointments quite a long way in advance. Then people were failing to turn up to them and it was just a waste of money. So we've been looking for alternative advice-based services, which we'd still like to provide potentially. But so far we haven't really hit on the right thing. So if you've got a proposal for the sort of service that we could find and use, it can go back in the budget. But what we can't do is keep putting something in the budget that we're not delivering, because it's not right to do that.
So is it just that in Milton Keynes in general, the citizen advice is just not there?
They are there, but they've got a different model of working, and the last few times we talked to them, they weren't prepared to do drop-in and they weren't wanting to deliver on the lakes, which is where we really wanted them to deliver.
Is it something we can just, I know it's I'm back, just look into it, again. That's okay.
I guess on that one, I don't necessarily want to get too much into details, but what alternative provision is there out there to provide that same service? If CAB is not necessarily meeting that, I think there is definitely a need for that. Particularly on the Lakes Estate and probably across the whole parish, to be honest. But how else could we look at that sort of
There are
service?
other information providers. I mean, Age UK provide an information service. It's not just for older people, that provided for anybody. There are other people, more specific advice providers like money advice. We can look at a range of different options if you say what it is you want to do.
So I was just thinking, even if we couldn't get citizen advice directly, like you said, the different alternatives, the different groups, if a way of doing it where we can support, like even if it's just once a month in a drop-in, the different ones where people can come and talk to the different types. It's just, that is the big thing that keeps coming up all the time through. Does that make sense?
We'll try and do some more research on that.
I am professional body, the relationship with an EAP provider, and although they're normally staff, they do it first. So the professional body, I say it might be that an EAP provider could look into it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any more comments on that? No? I think we now go back to item 16 of the agenda, which is discuss the Sycamore Buildings project, and we'll be discussing the finances and phasing of our Sycamore Buildings project. And I think the information in that, I'd like to propose that in accordance with the provisions of section 1(2) of the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1916, that members of the public, including the press, be excluded from the meeting by reason of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted. This is because it may be prejudicial to the public interest to discuss this item in public because it concerns commercially sensitive information. So I'll make that proposal. Do I have a seconder? Seconded. All those in favour of the motion? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Okay, for the community who are joining us via,
Can I just say, on restricted stuff on the app, me and Eamon hasn't got.
Can we deal with that after the meeting?
But we can't look at the paperwork for it.
Can't sort it out right now. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I think we need to start bringing paperwork in for restriction.
Thank you. So for those members of the community who are joining us online, that is the end of the meeting for yourselves this evening. Thank you for